What is up, guys? Taft Arlington here for another 19's itemization video. This one we're going to be going over Warrior. For purpose of consistency, we assume it is better to stat stack as opposed to stat smooth. This is situational and depends on your set as a whole. All items are BIS and in order of preference. We assume armor values and uniqueness variable on the classic database are accurate, and we list the items in in-game order. So with the warrior, there's basically two different ways to play it. Um, there's the two-handed, uh, basically goes out and does a bunch of damage, and then there's the sword and board who plays more of a utility role. Um, on Alliance, I think it's much more viable to play as a two-handed warrior, mainly because of the weapon that you get on Alliance. And on Horde, I think it's better to play as a utility sword and board warrior. Um, Warrior on Alliance is much more powerful, mainly because of the blessing of freedom they can get from a paladin. Um, and in general, Warrior on Horde, and I don't want to say is considered like the weakest of the 19s, but it's definitely one that takes the most effort to play and to play well with. But people have done it, and they've been able to play really well with a warrior on Horde. Um, but yeah, so basically, what your role is as a warrior, you're primarily in place of a hunter. Um, so like wing clip is like the best movement impairment effect at 19. But Hunter also provides the second most damage, the most DPS. Uh, Rogue being the first, and so it would be better if you could keep your hunters from having to constantly go within melee range and wing clip when you could have a warrior going in and hamstringing everybody and allowing the hunter to sit back and deal damage. Um, So you're doing that, and you're also shield bashing as a warrior. It's pretty much just hamstring, shield bash, sunder armor, and then disarming rogues or other warriors or hunters from wing clipping. Those are your primary roles as a warrior. But whenever I played warrior, I played a two-hand warrior on Alliance, and I had a lot of fun with it. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of go through what General Warrior does, which is allows a hunter to sit back in DPS while the warrior goes in and hamstring, and it relieves the hunter from having to wing clip, and also disarming a rogue or shield bashing a healer. So let's get into the items here. Everybody starts out with green tinted goggles. This is from Engineering 150. Their cloth helm, it's the only real starter item. It gives 8 stam, 7 spirit. It is important to note that the spirit for Warrior has the highest, I don't know if you'd call it coefficient, but basically Warrior gets the most benefit out of spirit. The benefit that they get is the highest, like scaling. Um, Whereas like Rogue is second in scaling, and then I'm not sure. I think Hunter might be third in scaling, but it basically drops off significantly past Rogue. It's Warrior has the best scaling with Spirit, and then there's a substantial drop from Warrior to Rogue, and then after that, the drop is so substantial that it's hardly worth noting. But yeah, green tinted goggles. So don't discount Spirit. Is I guess what I'm trying to say. And we always go Libram of Constitution on that first helm. And you could also go Veracity, getting 8 Strength or 8 Agility. It's up to you whether or not you want to go Strength or Agility. Personally, I found it's much better to stack Agility on a warrior at 19. Of course, having a healthy mix of both is important, but whenever I played as a two-hander, and I found being able to crit was much better for warrior at 19 than stacking attack power. Horde also can get the hooded cowl. This is from the dangerous quest in Hillsbrad. And also you'll be doing this quest along with the Battle of Hillsbrad for warrior. They coincide, they go hand in hand. Um, because of these mobs that you kill, Clerk, White Steed, Citizen Wilkes, Miner Hatchet, and Farmer, uh, whatever her name is. These mobs coincide perfectly with the Battle of Hillsbrad quest, which you will be wanting to do if you are on Horde for the best two-hander. And we will get to the Battle of Hillsbrad quest whenever we get to weapons. And this basically allows you to get something with a little more style points. It's still cloth, and you are able to Libram it, so say something like fire resistance maybe. Um, but yeah. And then eventually, whenever ZG comes out, there's the Lucky Fishing Hat, which is the best helm that you can get with 15 stamina, um, 10 more armor, although it's still cloth, so not all that much. Huge style points. You'll get this from the STV fishing tournament, which is on Sundays in the afternoon. Um, but that's whenever ZG comes out. That'll be available to fish up. And with that, you can either go Constitution. You could technically get 2 of them because you see there is no uniqueness, so you can get as many of these fishing hats as you want. Uh, you know, but it is very difficult to get this. I've been on many different servers and was never able to get the fishing hat because it's very rare to get the hat. So, but in theory, you can get as many as you want, and you can go 8 strength. You could get one with 8 agility, or you could go with the 100 health. It all depends on how you want to play your warrior, um, because you can also play it as a flag carrier, and in that case, you would want the Constitution, the plus 100 HP Libram on it. But yeah, you can always get more than one helm and get different Librams on them. For the neck piece, there's the Tarnished Silver Necklace and the Voice Amplification Modulator that you can start out with. Both of these are just pure aesthetics. They don't actually give you anything. The Tarnished Silver Necklace drops off the mobs that spawn out of the graves in Zul'Farrak, and the Voice Amplification Modulator is it's an engine. It's crafted by an engineer. It's very expensive with the 2 delicate Arcanite converters. It increases your resistance to silence, which there are no silences effects at 19, so it's just aesthetic. And then eventually, whenever you're honored with Warsong Gulch, you'll either get the Sentinels Medallion for Alliance or Scouts Medallion for Horde, and you'll get 6 agility and 2 stamina on that, which are decent stats for warrior PvP. They're decent considering they're the only they're the only option with any stats. For shoulder, everybody starts out with the Talbar Mantle. This is 6 intellect, 3 stamina, cloth shoulders. But you get this from the glowing shard, which drops off the Murloc boss at the end of Wailing Caverns. Whenever you've cleared all the Lords of the Fang, you then start the the event at the end to end the nightmare, and the Murloc will drop the glowing shard, which you then take to Ratchet, and you talk to the guy directly next to the Flight Master there in Ratchet, and it doesn't show a quest, so you just have to click on him and say, tell me about the glowing shard. He will send you to the summit above Wailing Caverns, and from there she will send you to either Darnassus for Alliance or Thunder Bluff for Horde, which you can get those shoulders. So note that it's only 3 stamina and it is cloth with 30 armor. Um, and we also show Defender Spalders. Now, I think depending on what kind of set you're wearing, I would say that the Defender Spalders, the male armor, is going to end up um, basically, what's the word for it? Um, Deferring, I guess, but that's not the exact adjective I want to use, but more or less deferring the amount of damage that you take. And I'm quite certain that 128 armor, that's basically 108 more armor than Talbar Mantle, that amount of armor will be able to mitigate more damage than 3 stam would give you. So 3 stam is going to give you 30 health. I believe that 108 armor over the course of, say you have 1200 health, over the course of 1200 health, if you assume something like 80% of the damage that you take in a 19 war song is going to be physical damage, um, over the course of 1200 health, that 108 armor will end up reducing the damage you take greater than 30 health. So it could reduce damage by 40 or 50. But basically, I think that the Defender Spalders or another male armor shoulder piece will end up being better for you as a warrior than the Talbar Mantle. And that same isn't necessarily true for Paladin because of the amount of intellect that Talbar Mantle gives you. But for Warrior, I'm quite convinced that that 108 armor is going to be more beneficial than the 30 health that the Talbar Mantle gives you. We also show the Nax shoulder enchants, and again, we don't know if how Blizzard is going to roll this out and whether or not it's even going to be possible to apply. Um, in the past, so you were able to put it on white shoulders, and on the private servers, you were able to put them on Talbar Mantle directly through the trade window. So we're kind of just crossing our fingers and hoping Blizzard doesn't mess this up, and we will actually be able to apply these enchants, these drop off of Sephiron in Nags, the second to last boss. We're hoping these can just be applied through the trade window. Quick note about these two whenever they come up. The Might of the Scourge, which is the attack power and crit, um, is going to be extremely expensive if you're even able to buy this at all. The Fortitude of the Scourge, which is the stam and armor, 16 stam, 100 armor, is going to be much more likely that you're able to buy this because this is really only going to be used by tanks, 16 stam, 100 armor, and even then, most tanks are going to prefer the Might of the Scourge for the threat. Um, and by the time people are doing Sephiron, they're already done with ranking in PvP at 60. So, like, it might go to PvP, but they might say, hey, if we can get 2k, we can get 2,000 gold for this, like, it's going to be more of a benefit to the guild than for someone to just have it for off-spec PvP. So, and not only that, there's only like a max of like 4 tanks or I guess you could say 8 total, tanks, like that would be doing 4 horsemen tanking, who would ever even use this. So like 8 max, right? And 4 of those definitely are going to be just off tanks, who are much more likely to want Might of the Scourge. So you got to think hunters are going to want this, rogues are going to want this, DPS warriors are going to want this, and most likely threat tanks are going to want this. Whereas really only just, you know, some tanks are going to want the fortitude. So do keep that in mind, that the Midas Scourge can be much more difficult to obtain than fortitude. And arguably fortitude is going to be better on a warrior than Might of the Scourge, but all depends on how Blizzard rolls those out. So for the cloaks, there's really only one option, and that's Sentry Cloak if we want to load. This is a BOE off the auction house. 5 stam, 4 agility. Basically, it's going to be the best thing. The only other real option is something like a 3/3 Sentry Cape. I realize they're both called Sentry, but yeah, some like a Sentry 3/3 Bear, um, or like a 3/3 Tiger maybe would be something you'd want to get. But basically, there isn't any BOP cloak to pick up. It's going to be something off the auction house. Sentry Cloak is going to be very expensive because it's best in slot for anything physical. So your rogues and hunters are going to be getting these. It's going to be like 80 gold for that. You might be able to find it for cheaper. The Sentry Cloak 3/3s are going to be really cheap because most people don't realize that they are a good second option for Warrior at 19. And arguably the Tiger Cape would be better than Sentry for a like a pure DPS attack power build. The enchant that we get on that on our first cloak. Now realize Sentry does not have a uniqueness variable on it, so you can buy, you know, multiples of these and get different cloak enchants. But the one that I would suggest the most out of any cloak enchant is going to be greater resistance. Permanently enchant cloak, give 5 to all schools of magic, 5 resistance to all schools of magic. This is really the only place at 19 where you can pick up resistance, and therefore you should get it. Because the alternative would be something like superior defense 70 armor, or lesser agility 3 agility, um, or something like lesser shadow resistance. Um, and you know, 70 armor is a lot and it's really nice, but having just some amount of resistance, because you're going from you'll be at 0 resistance without this. Um, and you might think like, oh, Mark of the Wild. Well, Mark of the Wild at level 19 doesn't actually give resistances, so it only gives stats and armor. So realize like this is really the only place you get to pick up resistance at. So it's really important that you get it. You can resist a root, you can resist, the whole host of thing. Conch shot. Um, I don't. Frostbolt, Frost Nova, Poly, Fear. You know what I mean? Like this is really what I would suggest getting. Greater resistance. 70 armor is also a good option. That will end up mitigating quite a bit of damage. But I think for utility purposes, this resistance to cloak is going to be your number one option. Now, lesser agility. So if you are going to be playing like a pure attack power agi build, then let's check out. There is one other cloak. We didn't put it on here. Excuse me. What is it called? Oh yeah, that's right. Glowing lizard scale cloak. This drops off of Scum, the Kodo, the nature damage Kodo in Wailing Caverns. 6 agility, 2 stam. If you wanted to do like a heavy agi build, you could do this, or you just didn't want to pay the 50 gold or whatever for the sentry cloak, you could get glowing lizard scale cloak and then like stack it with agility, and then end up picking up 9 agility there. But I think it's really important that you do pick up stam, because as a warrior you're gonna be in rogues' faces. You're gonna be up close and personal with everybody, and so you're gonna end up taking a lot of damage like that. So it is important to stack stam on a warrior. For chest piece, I would suggest getting 2 chest pieces for both factions. For Horde, Black and Defias armor. This drops off the last boss in Dead Mines. Drops off of the boss named Van Cleef. 11 stam, 3 agility, 4 strength. Beautiful stats for a warrior at 19. Um, and I know whenever people look at this, there's only these 2 leather pieces, and they think like, oh, I want to wear mail. Um, and the problem with that is, if we look at defenders, is going to have the highest armor value. Let's find it. It's 177 armor, and the max roll on that is going to be a 5/5. So you could get like, I guess, a monkey would be the best in that, or maybe of the bear, either monkey or bear, 5/5. But the thing is, it's less than 100 armor, and you're talking 6 more stam. I don't think that's going to be worth it. I don't think that 100 armor is going to end up being worth more than 6 stamina. I'm going to make a separate video on the armor coefficient and like show the math behind it. But basically, I don't think it's going to end up being more than that. But if you wanted to stack like pure armor, defender tunic 5/5, monkey or bear is what you will end up picking up. So I guess it is. I just wanted to kind of show that. Um, but yeah, this drops off of Van Cleef. You get either greater stats or major health, or just get 2 chest pieces and get one with greater stats, one with greater health, or major health. And for Alliance, you have this option, Tunic of Westfall. And this is one of the reasons why Two-Handed Warrior on Alliance is better than like Two-Handed Warrior on Horde, because of the insane amount of agility you get on Tunic of Westfall. Same amount of armor value as a Black and Defias. 5 stam, 11 agility, an insane amount of agility there. This comes from the Defias Brotherhood questline. It's like the main questline of Westfall. If you ever played Alliance, then you know about this questline. But yeah, you start at level 14. It involves like you end up. I would do this questline first and then go into Dead Mines and kill Van Cleef. And I would do that all at like level 14, 15. But yeah, you get that agi stack there and get greater stats on that, because you might as well follow up on it and get, stack the agi. Or you could stat smooth and put 100 health on it if you wanted to. I personally think you would want greater stats on that, and major health on Defias. So for the bracers, got the Beetle class bracers for Alliance. This is 5 stam, 2 agi, male bracers. Comes from this quest, researching the corruption. Requires level 18 to complete. It starts here in the park in Stormwind. And I almost feel like this was required a particular race to do this quest on Alliance. Could be wrong. Anyway, pretty big bracers there. 5 stam, 2 agility. For Horde, you've got a similar setup. Not as good of stats, but they are male bracers. 6 stam, 1 spirit. This comes from the Book of quest, which you pick up in Undercity, the Apothecary, and you go and kill. Well, you go into SFK, into the library type room, and one of the books on the shelf is the Book of which you pick up and return to Belduger in the just inside the ring in Undercity. And don't get tempted by these grizzled boots here. We're gonna get to boots later, and I'll show you why these are not the boots that you would want. You would definitely want steel clasp, because the next best option for bracers is fortified 3-3. So if you want like a stam stack bracers, you want to pick these up, because the next best option would be something like fortified bracers of the bear 3-3. And you might prefer these if you want more attack power and less stam. You may prefer something like the fortified. But basically across the board, it's all superior stam. That's +9 stam, super cheap. It's only 15 illusion dust. Definitely get that. And another option would be superior strength, which is not a cheap enchant at all, with the 6 greater eternals there. But if you wanted, you know, more strength, more attack power, you can get that enchant as well. But I would put that on something like the 3-3, a pair of 3-3s, as opposed to one of these, either Beetle Clasp or Steel Clasp, because, you know, we assume it's better to stat stack. On to gloves. So, pretty much the only option, really the only option, is going to be Thorbia's Gauntlets. This is a BOE off the auction house. They're male, 8 strength, 3 stam. All around going to be the best thing you can pick up. Like you could pick up, you know, some like defender gloves if you wanted to, but the thing is, they're going to be a pair of 4-4. Like that's going to be the max roll on gloves. So, you know, you're gaining 1 stam but forfeiting 4 strength. I don't think it's going to be worth. This is one of those items you just kind of gotta bite the bullet and pick up off the auction house, because there's really no other good option for gloves. But yeah, Thorbia's. We also show red whelp gloves. I don't really think it's all that good, mainly because for warrior, but we do show it because we don't necessarily know how effective like the spell power is going to be uh, on melee classes at 19, or whether it's going to be a thing we need to wait for the AQ enchants to come out to see just how good it is. But one of the main reasons I don't think it's going to be that good on warrior is because it's a flat percentage chance. It's not a proc per minute. So if you're two-handed warrior, or even sword and board, like a flat percentage is not what you want. You want a proc per minute for a warrior. You know, something like a rogue would benefit more from these red whelp gloves. Excuse me. And obviously, whenever the 15 agility enchant comes out with AQ, that's what you're going to want to use. Prior to that, you can either go superior strength, or sorry, greater strength or greater agility. The thing is, the strength enchant is +7 strength. The agility enchant is +7 agility. The strength enchant is much more expensive, with having 4 greater eternal essences and 4 illusion dust. It's mainly those essences that are gonna gonna cost you a lot. Whereas here it's only 3 lesser, which is 1 greater, and 3 illusion dust. So the agility enchant is much cheaper than the strength enchant. Probably about 30 or 40 gold cheaper. So, like this one's only gonna cost you maybe 10 gold to get this for the materials. And this one's gonna cost you something like 30 to 40 gold for this. But yeah, 7 agility or 7 strength prior to AQ. Once AQ comes out, I mean that's that's a heck of an expensive enchant there. 4 Essence of Air, 8 Large Brill, 3 Nexus Crystals for 15 agility. But it would definitely be worth whenever it comes out. Um, but yeah, I personally think it's better to. Again, it depends how you want to play it. But I think even for it all depends. I mean, I'm a big proponent of the agility on Warrior at 19. So for belt, there are 3 options, and they're all BOEs. Cobrons, or sorry, Cobrons is the only non-BOE. Uh, but let's take a look. This drops off of Lord Cobron in Wailing Caverns. There's a lot of stuff out of Wailing Caverns. He's the guy. As soon as you enter that main cavern in Wailing Caverns, he's off to the left. Very easy to farm this guy. But the belt gives 8 strength, 3 agility, mail belt, really beautiful stats here. Great, you know, just like 2-hand warrior stats on that. Really easy pickup. Deviant Scale Belt, a BOE off the auction house created by a leather worker. Another really easy pickup. This is like max 5-6 gold off the auction house. 6 Dam, 5 Agility, 3 Spirit. So this is more your flag carrying type of belt, or if you're, you know, if you're gonna be playing the role of like charging out, you know, in front of your team, engaging the enemy team, and you're gonna be taking a bunch of damage, you're not really gonna have much of a need for strength and agility. You know, from the Cobron's Grasp, you'd much rather have something like the Deviant Scale Belt for that 6 Dam, whereas Cobron's doesn't give any stamina. And sort of the in between would be something like a Fortified Belted the Bear 4/4, um, which is going to give you stam, and it's also going to give you that mail armor. So yeah, definitely going to need to make a video about the coefficient on damage mitigation with armor. So be watching for that. Okay, so for the legs, you see we've broken it out into sword and board and two-hander. Um, Now for Horde, there really isn't, like, you don't get Chassis of Westfall. So, oh, and I guess it is important to note, um, you'll need to make a decision prior to doing the Defias Brotherhood quest line, because both the chassis and the tunic are rewarded from the same quest, so you can only choose one of them, and you have to decide which one you want. Do you want the tunic of Westfall, or do you want the chassis of Westfall? Is that chassis? I'm not entirely sure. But for Horde, pretty much you're gonna be stuck with Leggings of the Fang. And I say stuck like it's a bad thing. These things have insane stats on them, and easily worth forfeiting the armor from something like Defenders or Fortified Leggings. Of course, you can get Defenders or Fortified for the mail armor, and for legs, the max roll is going to be a 5/5. So on Horde, I guess you could get like Defender's pants of the monkey or of the bear for the 5/5, and that would be better for something like flag carrying. Um, but let's take the look at the Westfall pants. They're mail, crazy amount of armor there. 5 stam, 11 strength. There's not going to be anything better for like a flag carrier on Alliance than this. This is certainly going to be your best option for Soren board if you're playing Alliance. Um, but if you're going to be playing a two-handed warrior, I would strongly suggest going Tunic of Westfall over these pants. Because you can wear Leggings of the Fang, which are going to be much, much better for two-handed DPSing um, as a warrior on Alliance. Because of the crazy amount of agility that you get, you'll be sacrificing 1 stamina and 6 strength for 9 agility. I think that's going to be worth if you're going to do two-handed uh, damage on Alliance, which is a lot of fun to play. But for Horde, you're pretty much just going to have these Leggings of the Fang, and you'll use this for if you're going two-hander, um, and probably also if you're going to be doing sword and board. Um, but again, you can always get Defender pants of the monkey or of the bear 5/5 if you wanted to, like a flag carrying pants. And so now with the Libram that you're going to want, obviously it's up to you. You can go with the Constitution, the plus 100 health. And I'm not entirely sure. It really depends on what set you're rocking. You basically want to be around you want to hit 1200 health. And from there you can start stacking agility or strength or whatever you want. But you pretty much want to be around 1200 health. Um, so like plan out your set and see, are you going to be at 1200 before going and doing the Librams? Because if you're squishy, you know, people are going to find out and they say, oh, he's, easy to kill, just burst him or something like that. So you do want to have like at least 1200, especially on a warrior. Unless you're rolling with a pocket healer, then you could drop down to like 1000. I wouldn't go below 1000 though. But yeah. So for the boots, silver linked foot guards are pretty much going to be your best option until you can get the fishing boots. And these are a BOE off the auction house. Usually not that expensive because there's not many people play warrior or paladin if you're on alliance. But these boots are mail, 3 strength, 7 stam, great amount of stam, and a decent amount of strength there. Um, I would definitely advise getting these and rocking these with minor run speed for starting out. If you wanted something a little bit more with a little bit more attack power, so if you're going to go like a two-handed warrior, you've got Feet of the Lynx. There you're trading that 7 stam that you had gotten with the silver link, and trading it for 8 agility, and you're also giving up like about 100 armor. Same amount of strength there, 3 strength. Um, now let's look up. Hold on a second. Let's look up for Horde. I know there is Trailblazers, and I'm just kind of curious to see because I could have sworn there was like something else. Oh no. Okay. So this is another option that you could get. I don't like it all that much. Like I would say if I was gonna go two-handed on Horde, I would prefer something like Fear the Links to this. So I wouldn't get Trailblazers for Warrior on Horde, just because it's leather and just getting all you're getting there is agility and a little bit of stamina. I would stick to one of these two. Um, and then there's also grizzled boots on Horde, which are from the Book of Urquest, which we showed earlier. But the thing is, it's 2 strength, 7 stam, leather. And you compare these to the silver linkfoot guards, 7 stam, 3 strength, 130 armor. This is 60 armor. Way more armor, 1 more strength. I would just buy these because they're not that expensive. It's like 15 gold at most for these. Whereas with these grizzled boots, you would be giving up your steel class bracers, which I would definitely pick those up. And there's also the draftsman boots. So the thing is, you're not going to be getting the engineer's cloak from the Ziz Physics quest line because you're not going to be doing anything with that 2 intellect. So let's scroll back up to the cloak. We saw the sentry cape of the bear and the sentry cloak. Now, if you didn't want either of those, there's also, like, if you were just going to look at stam alone, which 5 stam is like the max stam you can get. So sentry cloak is 5 stam. The sentry cape is 3 stam max. And then there is Firebane. But if we look at the rewards here from Gorinzo, see, Engineer's Cloak gives us 5 stam as well with 2 int. And this is why you wouldn't choose this even if you wanted to be cheap, because you could get Firebane Cloak off the auction house for basically like 3 gold. Like super cheap, 5 stam, 5 fire resist. Now that 5 fire resist is going to be more useful than that 2 intellect, because you're not getting anything from intellect as a warrior. So like Firebane would be the thing to get. That's why you could always get the Draftsman boots, which are 5 strength, 5 stam. If you wanted to go cheap on boots and you didn't want to have to pay for Silver Linked or Fee of the Links, you could go Draftsman boots there. And that is from the Ziz Physics quest line. Ends with Gorinzo Wrench Whistle. The Ziz Physics questline starts with the same guy that you talked to for the glowing shard. They're in Ratchet. That starts at level 16, and he sends you to Stonetown Mountains, and you kill some operators for the blueprints, and then he sends you back. You go back and forth between these two people, and then he tells you to kill Gorinzo, who is right where my cursor is now. You have to go around this lake and then up on this big water wheel apparatus. Fairly easy quest. You will need some help to complete it, though. Then we show Goblin Rocket Boots. Obviously, this is made from Goblin Engineer. A lot of fun for these, but they do break quite often. So if you're risk adverse, I wouldn't advise these. And we show Nat Paddle's Extreme Angling Boots. Obviously, this is you get this from the same fishing tournament that you would get the hat from. These are 12 stam boots. These are huge. These are our number one, priority boots. I think they're much better than any other option, just because of the amount of stam is so outrageous. Excuse me. So you've probably noticed on the side here how we have greater stam going to these Nat Paggles and greater agility going to the Feet of the Lynx and greater stam on Grizzled, which I'm gonna change that to red because we don't want to advise people to go Grizzled. We much rather you get Draftsman's. It makes much more sense. But anyway, so you've noticed how we have these enchants, and I've already explained this in other videos, but I'll go ahead and explain it here. The reason why we show this greater stam, and you'll notice on these Nat Paggle boots that there's no uniqueness. So you can get, in theory, as many as you want. But the reason is because when ZG comes out, the Heart of Hakar buff that you get off of Hakar, the last boss of ZG, and you turn that into are they called the Zandalarian tribe or something like that? Forget what the faction's name is, but there's like that island out there in STV where you turn this heart into, and a world buff will go out, which gives you, I think I believe it's 10% movement speed, 15% to stats. Although it could be the other way around. It could be 15% movement speed, 10% stats. I think it would make more sense that it'd be. I don't know. It doesn't really matter because the minor speed enchant gives you 8% movement speed. So, regardless if it's 10 or 15% movement speed from the Heart of Hakar buff, it's going to override your minor run speed. So if you get a second pair of boots, something like the Draftsman with greater stam, you can use those with the Heart of Hakar buff. And so you'll be getting the movement speed from the Heart of Hakar buff, and you'll also be getting the multiplier from the Heart of Hakar buff with a stat enchant. So like for Feet of the Lynx, you get 7 agility on Feet of the Lynx instead of minor run, and you've got the Heart of Hakar, which will persist through death until Nax comes out. You'll be getting the scaling from the buff, and you'll be getting the movement speed from the buff. Whereas if you only had minor run speed boots, the minor run speed enchant's going to get overwritten by the buff, and you're not going to get any scaling from an enchant like greater agility or greater stamina. So, just wanted to explain why we're showing those enchants there before anyone's like, "What? You don't have minor run, noob?" So there is a reason there. For the rings, you've got the Seal of Ren and Seal of Sylvanas for Alliance and Horde. Let's take a look at the Alliance ring. Now, this ring is going to cost you a lot of XP. And one of the things about 19s is that you need to soak a lot of this XP prior to hitting 19, right? So, because if you don't, then you run into the possibility of accidentally leveling, and this is going to become very important for Horde, especially once they hit 19. You need to have everything out of the way. But let's take a look at this Seal of Ren. 4 Stam, 3 Spirit, 3 Agi, 3 Strength, 4 Int. Really big stats. Other than the 4 Int, you're not going to use that, but everything else really good for Warrior. Nothing comes close to those kind of stats. But let's take a look at the quest chain. It ends with an audience with the king. You can see it sends you all over Stormwind. But basically, it starts with the unsent letter, which drops off of Van Cleef. So ideally, you're getting this at like level 14 or 15 whenever you're doing the Defias Brotherhood quest line. You get the unsent letter, and this allows you to start it at 16. The unsent letter drops off of Van Cleef at the last boss of Dead Mines, and he sends you on this long quest chain. You got to go into the stockade, so you'll need someone to run you to do that. Although it's very easy. If it's like a level 60, they can just go pull Basil and bring him to the entrance and kill him, right? You don't have to run the whole thing. But yeah, it's a quest chain. So you want to start it at 16 and complete it at 16. You probably won't even be able to. It'll probably take up your entire bar at 16 and push you into 17. But yeah, you definitely want to get that going at 16 so you don't soak too much XP. But yeah, Seal Ring really big. And Horde has their equivalent seal ring, Seal Sylvanas, much easier to get. This is at level 18. You pick it up in the Sepulcher. The quest is Urugel must die. You pick the quest up in the sepulcher there, and you go into SFK. You kill Urugel, the last boss of SFK. You loot his head, and you get this gorgeous ring, 8 stam, 3 strength, very big stats at 19. It's amazing. Uh, just like the Seal of Rin, nothing comes close to these types of stats. So, must have item there. And then for your second ring, we would suggest either the Protector's Band for Alliance or the Legionnaire's Band for Horde. This is at Honored with Warsong Gulch. 4 strength, 4 agility, 2 stam. Gorgeous stats there. But of course, this is at Honored. So, what are you going to wear until then? Well, you've got several options. You've got the Blood Ring, which is, internet's going slow, which is just static 5 stam. That's an option if you want to go heavy into stam. There's also the Ring of Defense, which shouldn't be, I don't know why it's saying cooldown 15 minutes right there. It's just a static 4 defense, 20 armor, if you wanted to have some amount of defense. Because a lot of 19s like they don't spec into hit on the classes where they can do that. So that little bit of defense can make a difference, a really big difference for someone who isn't spec'd into hit in terms of reducing damage taken. Um, and then there's also the meta ring of the tiger or of the bear if you wanted that. Now those are going to be fairly expensive, so do keep that in mind. Or of the monkey if you wanted, but those are going to be a 3-3 combination. And there's also the demon band, which is usually super cheap. Like you can find this about like at a gold. 4 strength, 2 stam. That's off the auction house. So it's pretty much the rings are all off the auction house. That's Blood Ring, Ring of Defense, Meta Ring, and Demon Band are all auction house. And then the only bind on pickups are going to be the Seal of Rin, Seal of Sylvanas, and then whenever you're honored with Warsong, Legionnaires, and Protectors. I'm not too sure when they're going to roll out Warsong rewards. So, like, if you're already honored, or like if you're honored and you go to the vendor and it's not there, realize it comes out in a later patch, and I'm not sure if it's the BWL patch or not. I'm assuming it's going to be the BWL patch, but I'm not entirely sure. It might be later. We'll have to see what Blizzard does. So for the trinkets, it's the same for everyone. You've got your insignias. Obviously, this is whenever you hit rank 2, you can go buy this insignia from. I know the one in it's an org next to the officers lounge, I guess it's called. Um, in Orgrimmar, that's like right near the Flight Master, and then for the Alliance, it's in Stormwind, um, in Old Town, I believe it is, near the SI6 or whatever, whatever that spy organization is called. It's like right there. Um, and then for your other trinkets, there's the Minor Recombobulator, which is from Engineering. Um, Pretty cheap to make. Dispels polymorph on friendly target. Also restores 150 to 250 health and mana. Um, Pretty much the only time you use this to dispel polymorph is if your priest is polyed. Other than that, people just use it as basically a health pot, and you can also use it on other people to heal them or to give them mana. And then the Arena Grandmaster, static 1 dodge, use absorb 750 to 1250 damage lasting 20 seconds. It is dispellable, and you get this from doing the Gurubashi Arena, winning it 12 times, looting the chest, getting the minor trinket. Let's see if we can look. So you get this minor trinket, which you cannot wear. You can only pick it up in your bag. But you need 12 of them, and you get 1 per chest. And the chest goes out every 3 hours from noon. Okay, so weapons. Um, I'm trying to think what exactly I want to say. Basically, here's the alliance, and this is one of the biggest reasons why um, Alliance Two-Hand Warrior is so much fun, and why it's arguably better than Horde because of this crazy looking. I love this. I love the model of that. It looks like the feral Prebis, the the Prebis mace that like cat DPS ferals wear. But yeah, 21 DPS, 3.6. That's right there in the sweet spot. Obviously, a little slower would be a little bit better, but this is going to be the best thing. 91 top end with a chance on hit to blast a target for 75 frost damage. Um, really gorgeous. The Horde equivalent would be the Runic Dark Blade. Notice has slightly more DPS, but the problem is it's a 3.3 as opposed to a 3.6, but it does have an 86 top end. Um, but it's just not quite as good. Chance on hit for 35, a Shadow Bolt causing 35 damage versus a chance on hit blast target for 75. So this is basically a two-handed Shadow Fang. It's the exact same model as a Shadow Fang, only um, made to be two-hand size with an extended. I don't know what you call it. Is that called a hilt? Not entirely sure. But yeah, this is reward. Well, hold up. Let's back up. Let's get back to the glacial. This quest line is a doozy. Renee's cleansing. Um, some people now, if you're on Alliance and you don't get this, now if you're gonna be in Alliance where you gotta get glacial stone, you just got to. It's so good. Um, but this is where that see that Dalrin or Dartles, however that's pronounced, Rod of Transformation. This is whenever you see Alliance characters turn to Furbolgs, this is what it's from. So like a lot of people who play Alliance will do this quest line, even if they're not a warrior wanting the Glacial Stone, they'll do it and then like just not turn in the quest and just hang on to that this Rod of Transformation to make them into a Furbog is kind of fun. But as you can see, this quest line is lengthy and it requires a lot to do, all there in Ashenvale. Now it is possible to solo, but it's a pain to solo. But it definitely is possible. The problem is when you solo it, you're gonna end up soaking more XP than if you just had someone like a 60 come group with you and do it, as well as taking a lot more time to do it. But yeah, it starts at 18. Um, from Wolfrunner there in the main alliance city in Ashenvale. Starts at 18, so as soon as you hit level 18, you need to go straight there and get this done because I don't think it'll push you all the way into 19, but it's basically going to take up every bit of your level 18 to do this. Basically all of it. And man, I just love that weapon. Had a lot of fun with that. So for Horde, for their two-hand weapon, I've heard, and so the other option too, because, and we haven't gotten to it yet, but a lot of people on Horde prefer to go Night Reaver, mainly, well, one because they're playing orcs, um, but mainly because of Dead Skull Shield is another option. Um, let's just open this up from Battle of Hillsbrad, which, like Renee's Cleansing, is a very lengthy, very XP intensive quest that starts at level 19. So even more pressure than Renee's, because Renee starts at 18. Battle of Hills Red starts at 19. And you need to have this whole area pre-discovered, and you need to all these like kill 6 Hillsbred farmers, 6 farmhand, farmer Ray, farmer get slain. The next quest is kill 15 peasants. The next one is kill the apprentices and the blacksmith, Varrington, and loot the iron. Slay councilmen. Like these are all kill quests. Killed 10 miners and foreman bonds. Kill these, and now these guys, the Dun Garok Mountaineer, Rifleman, Priest, and Captain Ironhill over here in this Dun Garok. These are all elites. So basically, all these kills, you need to do them in ghost form. You should not be soaking the XP from these kills. I'm most certain that if you don't pre-discover Hillsbrad and you soak, so like as soon as you're 19 you then go there and like get all the discovery XP while doing this, and you soak the XP from actually killing these mobs, I'm almost 100% certain it will level you if you complete all these quests. It will level you into 20. So, like, I don't know how to really stress this enough that you need to go there prior to 19, soak the exploration XP, and then when you do this quest to kill the, these farmers and everyone else, you need to be dead and and have like your body there and have somebody else kill these mobs for you, because otherwise it's going to push you into 20. Really important. Anyway, back to the items. So a lot of people will forgo the runic Darkblade for the Dead Skull Shield. Now I'm not going to tell you which one you should do, but we're about to get to Shield, and you can make your mind up for yourself. But a lot of people on Horde prefer to go Night Reaver, just because that chance on hit is much, it does a lot more damage. This is just a 35 Shadow Bolt. This is a 60 291. And if you saw my rogue video, I'm really big on burst damage. But they are the same speed, and the Runic Darkblade has a significantly higher top end than the Night Reaver. But you can see how both of those weapons are inferior to the Glacial Stone, with the top end of Glacial being 91. But, it is what it is. It's not all that much more DPS though. That Shadow Bolt's really big though on Night Reaver for the burst damage. Anyway, so those are like, if you're on Alliance, Glacial Stone, Glacial Stone, Glacial Stone. If you're on Horde, you need to make the decision between Runic Darkblade or Dead Skull Shield. If you choose Dead Skull Shield, you do get the option to use Night Reaver. Which is kind of hard to say which one is technically better between Night Reaver and Runic Darkblade. All depends what you want to do and how much gold you have to do it. Because Night Reaver is going to be like 80 gold. So do keep that in mind. Obviously, Shadowfang for your sword and board. Before we get onto that, let me tell you about the enchant now. Excuse me. Everyone's thinking I'm going to make a 19 warrior, like two-handed warrior. I'm going to have Crusader, and I'm going to get the proc, and it's going to be 200 attack power, and I'm just going to mow people over. Not the case. Okay? You're really not much mowing people over. You can do it where you get like a Crusader proc, and then you get a big crit. But that's not really consistent enough. Especially with these being 3.3 attack speed. Um, Not that great. Now for Glacial Stone, I can see it. You're going to be getting better procs with a 3.6 swing speed. But what I found was Fiery Weapon was fire. It was insane. You could also do life stealing, but Fiery Weapon was so nice. Because basically what I would do is I would charge my target, hamstring them, and go straight to stacking Sunders. And the reason I did that was to force procs on both the weapon proc itself, that 75 frost damage, and to force proc Fieries. And I found that to be like by far the best DPS. Um, and I just like throw a rend on them. Just for that little bit extra DPS and for like the chance to proc the fiery and basically stack Sunders and then like you know that's what I found. I mean, test it out for yourself and I think you'll see like this thing does a lot of damage. Like I'm most certain you're gonna end up doing better DPS with the fiery as opposed to Crusader. Um, I would say test out fiery first and see how you like it before dropping, the 70 gold on Crusader. Because fiery is like 12, 15 gold enchant, whereas Crusader's like a 70 gold enchant, 70, 75. So I would say just put fiery on the two-hander, test it out, see how you like it, and then if you want to go Crusader, uh, you can like if you don't like it, then upgrade to Crusader if you think it's an upgrade, and then see for yourself. I think you'll be happier with the fiery on it as opposed to Crusader, but either way. Um, and there's not any particular reason why Night Reaver has Crusader and these have fiery. We just kind of put it like if I had a Night Reaver on a warrior, I would go fiery on it or life stealing. But we just put it there just to say like two-hander, it's okay to go Crusader. Um, but yeah, so for one-hander, there are basically two options. There's Shadowfang, and then there's also Assassin Blade if you wanted. Now, if you wanted to go cheap and you didn't want to spend the 100 plus gold on Shadowfang Assassin Blade, there is also Cruel Barb, which you can get. And this is from, I believe it's from Van Cleef. Yeah, it's from Van Cleef, Last Boss in Dead Mines. Um, Not nearly as good as Shadowfang, but it's still a decent weapon that you can use if you don't want to drop the gold on a one-handed weapon. Um, and there's also another set of 15.5 DPS, 57 top end, 12 attack power. There's also another option for Horde. Technically, be better as a one-hander for a warrior for sword and board, which is a 15.7 DPS, 45 top end, 5 agility, 2 stam, Wingblade, and this is from the leaders of the Fang quest. Um, which is a little bit of a quest chain. Not that bad though. Um, where you get the gems of the what are they called? Lords of the Fang, I guess you would call them, or leaders of the Fang from Wailing Caverns. They each drop a gem. Um, a little bit of a quest chain, but it starts with it starts with the Forgotten Pools here. I'm sure you've done this quest where you go test or you go look at this pool up here and then you go back to the crossroads and then they send you over here to this pool and you test some dried seeds and then they come back and they say go kill a bunch of turtles. Altered Beings is that one. And then from there you basically just talking to different people until you get the quest leaders of the Fang, and then you go into Wailing Caverns, kill them, get their gems, you get yourself a wing blade. This is if you did not want to buy a Shadow Fang, but you still wanted a good one-hander for your sword and board set. But if we compare the two, Shadowfang clearly superior one-hander with that chance on hit for a 30 Shadow Bolt. 17.8 DPS with a 55 top in versus a 45 15.7. All around, Shadowfang's going to be the best one-hander that you can have. But there's also Assassin Blade if you wanted something that's closer to like a sort of like a tanky type setup, which you get agility and strength from, with a really fast attack speed for those quick hamstrings. Although personally, I think Horde you're going to be better off with the winged blade, but Alliance I guess you will be either stuck between assassins or cruel barb for your one-hander if you did not want to buy a Shadowfang. But for the enchants, we show life stealing is going to be your number one enchant, mainly because of the healing that it has, and if you're going sword and board, you're going for survivability, and because of that, we put life stealing as the number one. Obviously, you could go 15 agility whenever that comes out if you think that would be better for flag carrying. Um, Up to you. Fiery weapon, always a good option. Crusader is decent. Now, I am staunchly opposed to Crusader on Shadowfang for basically everyone except for Warrior. Because Warrior gets the 2 attack power per strength, I would say it's okay to get Crusader on Shadowfang, even though I still believe lifestealing to be better. Um, Always, there's a steel weapon chain that you can get if you know if you had like a second Shadowfang and you wanted the steel weapon chain, the immune to disarm. Um, kind of nice. There's a fiery blaze enchantment. This is sort of totally, I don't know how to put it. Uh, Really just for style points. I mean, I can't. It's hard to see someone seriously use this. There is a time and place where this would technically be best. Um, when you have 3 or more people around you, uh, doing, you know, there's 3 or more people within a 3-yard radius, a fiery blaze enchantment will end up doing more damage than anything else. So there is a very, very rare opportunity to use that, but we just kind of put it there just for fun, you know. Okay, so offhands, here we've gotten to our shields. A quick note, thorium shield spike, not tested yet whether or not this can be applied. Blizzard is really screwing stuff up when it comes to these types of applied enchants. So not entirely sure whether or not this can be applied. Um, the thing is, it doesn't have any sort of like level requirement or anything associated with it, but Blizzard is using a TBC reference client for Classic, which is so many things wrong with that, but this may or may not be able to be applied. Um, and if that's the case, I don't know. Like, it's really kind of upsetting what Blizzard is doing. Anyway, um, here's a like little breakdown someone did. Favorite guy. Um, and this was the '08 patch. The ooh, hello, Felsteed. Shield spike item not found. Okay, that sounds Felsteed shield spike sounds and Thrallmar honor hold. Okay, that looks like some sort of Burning Crusade business. That doesn't look like vanilla stuff. I don't know. But yeah, basically Iron Shield, Mithril, or Thorium. Excuse me. Are the shield spikes there? Obviously, we say Thorium because it has the highest return damage. And we show that on both the Dead Skull and the Grunt shield of blocking. Um, so again, we've already gone over the Dead Skull shield in terms of Battle of Hillsbrad, but we didn't necessarily look at the stats. 611 armor, 12 block, 1 strength, 7 stamp. So the reason why we show shield block, or sorry, the shield spike on this is because of the block value 12, which is better than any other shields block. Oh, sorry. The block value on Arctic is better, but there's the reason why we don't show it on Arctic is because we've got frost resistance there as an anti-mage shield. Now, you don't have to play it like this, obviously, but again, it's sort of in the nature of stat stacking. Um, Whereas you've got this 5 frost resist, couple that with an 8 frost resist enchant, throw it on whenever you're going up against a mage. You got a good chance of resisting a Nova or something else, especially if you've already got the +5 resist to Cloak. Um, Gold-plated buckler, another option, and this is what we would suggest for the Stam enchant option. So you have like a Stam shield for like flag carrying. You've got the Arctic buckler with your resistance as like an anti-mage type shield, and then you've got the Dead Skull shield with the shield spike on it for your like anti-rogue, anti-melee type of really anti-rogue shield. Of course, you don't have to do this particular setup of enchants with shields, um, and you don't necessarily have to even get Dead Skull shield. The thing is, Arctic Buckler is so good. It's got 642 armor. That's 30 more armor than the Dead Skull shield. 30 and 31 more. It's got one more block on it, so technically this would be the better block shield. It's got 8 spirit on it, and remember, like, spirit is not shabby on warrior. They have the best scaling for spirit. 3 stam, so you're going to be losing 4 stam and 1 strength, but you are going to pick up that little bit of frost resistance there. So, you know, up to you. The thing is, if you look at this 642 armor on Arctic versus 471 gold plated is definitely a lot weaker. Um, but it would be the next in line for like a stam, like if you went with the shield spike on Dead Skull, frost resistance on Arctic, then you would still want like a stam stack shield, which would then be gold plated. So we've already gone over where Dead Skull comes from. Arctic Buckler comes from Black Fathom Villainy. This is at level 18 in Black Fathom Depths. Let's pick up this map. So okay, so here's the entrance where my cursor is now to Black Fathom Depths. You come in here, you do this, so you can hop over this. There's actually a shortcut where you just come along here and you ride up this wall and you drop like right out here instead of having to kill all that stuff. But yeah, you come in here. Here's where the turtle boss is, where the mouse, and then there's a dead guy, an Argent Guard, well, he's dead. He's like laying down right there. You pick up the quest from him. You go through the dungeon, and here in the last room, you kill what is basically the last boss, even though this guy over here is really the last one. But you get his head, and then you turn it in either Darnassus or Thunderbluff, and you get the Arctic Buckler. The gold-plated buckler drops off of Miner Johnson. Good joke, Blizzard. Um, Out of the Dead Mines, he is a rare spawn in the Dead Mines, and then the shield itself is a 50% chance to drop. So good percent chance to drop, but you gotta fish for Minor Johnson to find them for this shield. These are basically the options. Of course, the way the enchants work and how you want to mix and match those, completely up to you. Um, I could totally understand going shield spike on Arctic because it has, more block value. Um, but if you wanted like an anti-mage type of shield, you could do the frost resistance on the Arctic, which is decent. You'll be picking up, 13 frost resistance there. Um, anyway, just wanted to show you this. Furbog medicine pouch is gone. It's no longer a thing. Because the on use doesn't work. Well, it's no longer it's still a thing, but the on use doesn't work, and so all you'll be getting from it is 10 stam, and a loss of a lot of armor. So not worth, especially if you have gold plated, which is 5 stam, and then you've got the 7 stam enchant on it. That's 12 stam. That's already more stam and a lot more armor and block. So Furbog is really out of the picture for warrior. Everglow Lantern, Totem of Infliction, Grayson's Torch, Dim Torch. You can look these up if you want to, look at, but they're just kind of aesthetic and fun. They're not very serious, so I'm not really going to go over them. For ranged weapon, Keen Throwing Knife for rogues and warriors. This is mainly because of the short cast time. You're able to keep people in combat and interrupt like bandages and things of that nature. Um, this also gives you like the best pushback if you're Nova'd and they're trying to cast on you. You know. You can also get the quiver, the bandolier for alliance. The ranged weapon really isn't all that important for warrior. But yeah, Bow of Plunder, Little Timmies, Outriders, Outrunners, and Venom Strike are kind of the weapons, but really not all that important. I would roll with Keen Throwing Knife for sure, as opposed to any of this stuff, just because the utility that you get from that is so big. Anyway, yeah, guys, that was it. Gonna go ahead and work on the race and spec video for Warrior. Hope you found this video informative. If you like it, like it. You know the deal. I'm just going to scroll through the gear real quick just in case you wanted to see any of the items before the video ends. But yeah. Warrior is a lot of fun though. I would definitely suggest it. I had a blast on my Alliance Warrior. That glacial stone, man. Ooh, just love that glacial stone. Such a cool weapon. Alright guys, so I'll see you in the next video. Take care.